Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. And actually, I've got a returning visitor. So believe it or not, I don't really even remember this, Helen, but when I first started this, Helen came on like 5 years ago.
Wow.
I don't really even remember this, but
Yeah,
you
but
don't look,
5 years. Wow.
yeah, you don't even look any different. We got 154,000 views on that one, by the
No
way.
way,
So I
really.
thought I'm languishing at the bottom of the ratings. I need to bring Helen back on to bring it back up.
154,000 on that
Yeah, yeah,
one.
it went crazy.
And was that a massive difference to what you'd normally get?
It was one of the ones that actually podcast went from like, poof, and then kind of stayed like that.
Yeah?
So,
Love
yeah.
that
So,
for us.
yeah, it's the northern stuff. It was a double whammy of northerners. So, for those of you who don't know, Helen is one of the OG LinkedIn people. Like when I started on LinkedIn, Helen was already doing LinkedIn. She had this huge and still has this huge community. She's doing some really interesting stuff now, which we're going to talk about. But Helen, how did you welcome back and how did you get into LinkedIn?
Oh, thanks for having me back, Dean. I love that for us. Really interesting that 5 years ago, like, where was I 5 years ago? It feels like 5 minutes ago, not 5 years ago.
Yeah, the
Um,
pandemic was 6 years ago.
I
Ugh.
know. So I got into LinkedIn 10 years ago. So I feel like a real old timer. Like when you say like Helen's one of the OGs, I still a lot of the time I just remember how I felt when I was new and how uncertain and unsure I was, but how I kind of projected this, I've got all my shit together kind of vibe. But now I do actually feel like I've got my shit together in business. It's almost like my authority and experience have met up with the kind of the way that the way that I present. It's really interesting. But yeah, I got into LinkedIn through sheer desperation. I had absolutely no money. I was in about 90 grand worth of personal debt. I was a single mom, the usual backstory, X Factor backstory. I was really, really, really broke, and I needed to get some business. I needed to get some clients. I needed to get some money in that order, really. I was kind of like, I need some money. And LinkedIn really saved me. It really did. LinkedIn saved me because at that time I wanted to run a social media agency for my sins. And I wanted to connect with and work with business owners in my hometown. So what I thought was, right, okay, if I want to get 10 clients, pay me £250 a month, because that was the absolute limit of my ambition at that point. I just need 10 local business owners in Warrington, which is where I live. And I thought, how can I get in front of business owners? And I looked at networking and events that were nearby, and I just thought, I can't do that. Like, I can't, at that time, I couldn't afford to go to a networking event at like £15, for example. Like, I was just out of the question, because that was £15 was like packed lunches for the week and petrol for the car, and I had really severe like anxiety and low confidence. I didn't feel able to stand up and talk in front of people. That was just seemed absolutely horrendous as something to do. And with two kids under 5, like I couldn't go to a 6 a.m. meeting, right? So I was kind of like, that's not going to work for me. But the next, I think a couple of lines down, was this thing that said LinkedIn, the world's biggest networking site. And I thought, oh, that'll do. That sounds good.
Yeah.
And, it was free and still is free. And it was easy to use. And it was obvious to me on how it would work. And yeah, I just set up my LinkedIn that day, and my life's literally never been the same. When people say like there's this one thing that changed everything, like LinkedIn was the one thing that changed everything. It really was.
Do you know what's really funny? So your story, I went through a split with my business partner, and I was like, I hate doing this social media marketing for so many different businesses.
Yeah.
And I was like, they were so spread. And I noticed the bits that we did well was LinkedIn. So I
Yeah.
was like, should we just sack off everything else because it's more trouble than it's worth?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a bit different as a platform now, but the fundamental principles of how you use it haven't really changed.
Yeah, I don't think it's different at all. I just think it's exactly the same. I mean,
do you know what? The only thing I would say is different is like, well, I'll say it in my Newtonley Willows is coming out now, right? That's the rough place compared to Helen's Warrington, by the way. That's the posh area. In my hometown, if you made it, you moved to Warrington. Helen was born there, right? So you could get away, because it wasn't as noisy, you could get away with posting a bit more vague. And this is something I think you're talking about a lot more about now, as well as about really understanding what you're doing, what your expertise is, your kind of lane that you speak into. And I think maybe years ago, you could just dance around and play around, and it was a bit easier to just get success without focus. But whereas now you have to be a bit clearer on what you want and who you're talking to.
Yeah,
would you say that's fair?
Well, I think so. But the way that I teach LinkedIn and the way that I do LinkedIn for myself and for my businesses is exactly the same as it was back then, though. Like, nothing's changed. So, like, in terms of like making the thing that I think I did differently to other people was that I made the LinkedIn profile about the client and not about the person behind the profile. And it's really interesting. I'm going to try not to say anything too negative on this whole podcast because I want to be love and light. But occasionally somebody will hire me to help them with their LinkedIn and then tell me that I'm wrong. Which is really interesting because when it comes to LinkedIn, I am not wrong. I am right. And what I mean by that is like the way I teach LinkedIn is the way I've taught it for the last 10 years and it's never failed. It's never been wrong. No one, the only time anyone ever takes my advice and doesn't get a result is when they take my advice and then ignore it. It's, if you put your ideal client in the center of your world and you make your LinkedIn profile all about them and what's going on with them, and then you write content for that ideal client and you share about who you are and why you do what you do and your personal stuff and your business stuff, and you're really, really, really consistent, that is what LinkedIn rewards above all else, consistency. You'll get clients on LinkedIn. It's as simple as that. Like it cannot fail. So from that side of things, nothing's changed. And it doesn't matter how much tech comes out, how much AI takes over, how much people, how much the kind of the culture, if you like, of some of the content might change. Those principles never, ever change. Like there's no other platform in the world where you can specifically target a job title and a location and know that that person has both a job and lives in that location. Like it's impossible to do elsewhere. So from that point of view, if you treat LinkedIn how I've always treated it, which is this incredible opportunity to create what I call a town hall that's full of your ideal clients that you get to stand on the stage and talk to about who you are and what you do, and you get to fill that town hall with exactly the right people. Like there's nothing that compares to it, even now. So it's kind of nothing's changed and everything's changed all at the same time.
Yeah. I think the big problem, and I've seen you talking a bit about this as well, is how do you pick that ideal client? I think a lot of people torture themselves around, but which one?
So I don't know if I'm on camera. I'm going to be on camera.
Yeah.
So I wrote this book, Dean, holding up the book for the tape, by the way, if you're listening.
Yeah, I'll get the lower third.
Yeah, so I wrote the book, which is Ideal Client Attraction and Spiritual Practice, and I wrote that book in 5 days because it's easy for me to write about a book about something that I've been saying for 10 years, right? And the reason why I wrote the book on it is because people really struggle with it. And it's so convoluted and it's so criticised and people mock it as a practice and ideal client avatar work and all that kind of stuff. However, again, for the last 10 years, 100% of the business I've seen, I've been behind the scenes of which there are hundreds of thousands. The problem is always that they don't understand their ideal client. And that doesn't matter whether they're a multi-billion pound global conglomerate and I'm in a boardroom, up in a, 20th floor overlooking bloody Big Ben. It's the same. I sit down in that boardroom, I'm like, right, let's talk about your ideal client. And everyone looks at me blank.
Yeah.
And they've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on consultants, but they've still not really sat down and thought about it properly. Same as if I work with a brand new freelancer who's like, well, I can help anyone with money. It's the same thing. You know, it's the same thing. It's just different scale. So the book is designed to put everybody back in the center of their business and really understand who they are first, then what the offer is, and then who the client is for that. Yeah.
And I think that's because if you think about, and I often say this as well. So if you don't know who that person is, you don't know why your product, service, or whatever matters.
Yeah.
You don't know what to post about. You don't know anything. You're just guessing. Exactly. I saw somebody the other day, and I won't say names because we'll get in trouble, right? But I saw somebody the other day, and they put at the top of their profile on their banner on LinkedIn, clarity.
Yes.
And I asked them, why did you put that there? Because I want to make people curious about knowing what I do. And I'm like, it means nothing.
There's no clarity, though. Yes.
Why do you think
so many things that are not lined up? But yeah, ideal client is normally one of the first things to look at. Yeah.
And you work with a lot of business owners on this stuff about understanding their ideal client. Do you see this same thing? Maybe I see it, and I'd love to know why you think we do this. That I call it, they create buckets, and because they haven't settled on who they want to serve, they end up making these weird words and phrases to try and catch a few people, like clarity, like
mission led.
Yeah. weird things.
Yeah, it's so a lot of people obviously don't agree with me, which is fine. It's disappointing for them, but you know, it's fine, because if everyone agreed with me, then we'd have no fun. But ultimately, if your business is not performing how you want it to, it is because you are not speaking to your ideal client in the way that is making them fall over themselves to apply to be your client. Yeah, and I have been in this situation as well. I am my own best client. Yeah, I've just been through a huge a repositioning. I've been through a huge transformation of my expert identity, and in the middle, it's a mess. Yeah, and it is a mess. Even when you're an expert in this stuff, it's a mess. But you've got to be so brutally honest with yourself. Like, if I was speaking directly to my ideal client in a way that was compelling them to want to work with me, I would not have a problem in my business. Like, I would not be overcoming any objections. I would not be wondering about what to think. I would not be wondering where my next client is coming from. Like, it's all just symptoms of this problem, that if you haven't got the clarity and that person cannot hear you and feel you when you speak to them, you know you've got a problem. So one of my programs is firmly targeted in writing at people who are stuck at 2 to 3k months. Yeah, this is for you if you are stuck at 2 to 3k months. That is the language that I use. Now, there's be people that are stuck at under 2k and there'll be people that are stuck above. But the idea is most people can build a business and make between 2 and 3 grand a month, even if they haven't got clarity on their ideal client or their offers or who they are, really. Because, you know enough people to know enough people, to talk to enough people, to get enough clients and a few referrals and all the rest of it. And you can kind of just get the odd post that lands at the right time. But that's the point. If you cannot get past that, to scale past that, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like 2 to 3k months is also a horrible place to get stuck, because you're kind of making enough to live, but you're not making enough to like have a great time, but you're not making so little that you think, I'll just go and get a job. So it kind of gets people stuck in this point, you know, where people are sort of going, when are you going back to work? But they're also not going, you must go back to work. When I say they, I mean their husbands. But like, you know, that point that people get stuck at. But to move past that stuckness, the plateau, you have to get laser focused. And a lot of people think you've got to go broader. You've actually got to go more specific. The more specific you are, the more of a specialist you are, the more money you can charge, but also the easier it is to get clients. And the easier it is to get a compelled move towards you. Like, I know that when I write, and I write properly, and we can talk about that, because I think there's 2 ways of doing content, so I've got a theory on that around killer and filler. When I write properly, the people that come towards me do not need convincing that I am the person to help them. Like, they know on a soul level, on a spiritual level, which is why I talk about spiritual practice, they know that I'm the person that can help them, and they feel safe to come towards me. So, but you've got to get that connection. If you haven't got that connection, then people just put you in a bucket. You know, talking about buckets, like, you just put yourself in a bucket of anybody who can fix this problem. But when you are really specific in who you are, what you sell, and who you sell it to, those three things have to be really specific across all three, then it's easy for people to make a decision. Like they don't need to be sold to because they're pre-sold.
Do you think, though, I often think about this, why are people so afraid to do that? Because there's obviously there's an element of, am I going to be rejected? And there's an element of, what if I make the wrong choice?
Well, it's scary, isn't it? Because if you say, I am this person doing this thing for this person, you are also saying, I am not this person, I'm not doing this thing, and I'm not working that person. So which is saying no to money. So having worked with people across every spectrum of success, if you want to call material success, from much less successful than me to much more successful, the one thing that all of us feel is weird saying no to money.
Yeah.
Because we want to make loads of money. And we want, and that's a good thing. And I'm a big fan of money, and I love money, and money loves me, and all that kind of great stuff. I love making money. Also, it just feels really alien. It's almost like a physical, visceral reaction to say no to people who want to give you money. It almost makes no logical sense. Like, so it's really difficult. And I've coached and mentored a lot of people through that, because when we say yes to money, even though we know it's not the right money, we know it's not the right offer, or we know it's not the right fit. We know that client's a fucking dickhead, right? We've all been there, but we say yes because we want the money or we need the money. Either or are the same, right? But when we are like saying no to money, it changes everything. Suddenly you become a pro rather than an amateur. And it's terrifying because it just feels so counterintuitive. But when we can do that and get really clear, whether it's through our marketing or just through our actual sales process of saying no to people, it feels wrong, but it's once you get used to it, that's the bit that will shift you into that next level, if you like, of success. I think it's a mix between strategy and energetics. It's a mix between how you show up and how you feel. It's a mix between how people perceive you and how you perceive yourself. So it's a very delicate dance, really. But that's why I have to mentor people through it, because they're almost looking at me as if to say, and I have to really be like, look, hold your nerve on this. Trust me. Trust yourself. It's all going to be okay. We're going to say no to this client, no to this money, no to this business partner, no to this opportunity, because we want to focus on this that we've decided is the thing that we want. And it's almost like the universe goes, oh, that was a test and you passed it. Here's your, here's the riches you were hoping for, So it's hard though. It is hard. And I would honestly say, sat here in front of you, like July 2026, like it's been really hard for me, because it would have been so much easier for me to go, forget that, I'm just going to go back to being the LinkedIn woman, because that's easy and it's fun and it's profitable and I'm good at it and I've got the authority for it and I can do it and people know me and I don't need to rebuild any more expert identity. It's kind of like I could have just coasted on that over and over and over again, except I couldn't do it on a energetic level, spiritual level. So I've put myself into the abyss, and I'm just sort of coming out the other side now. But it's been tough, and it is tough to say no and say, actually, that's not what I want anymore. I want this instead.
And what brought you to that point where you said, this is the change I want to make?
Yeah, I think I did. Like a lot of people, I think COVID was a huge impact on me, my business, my life, loads of ways, positive, negative. It was a real existential crisis. And obviously, I was extremely privileged to survive and thrive in that period. Not everyone was, of course. I think we all came out of that blinking into the sunlight, didn't we? Thinking, wow, that was a huge, huge deal that almost we never talk about. Do you not think that's weird? Like, there's barely a documentary on Netflix about it. Like, it's weird. It's like it's like a collective, we don't talk about that. I think it's just too soon.
It's so strange because, like, we don't talk about it very much. And we also seem to underestimate the impact it's had. Like, everything that we're going through right now, the inflation, the economic problems, is all because of COVID. And it feels like it is hard out there at the moment. There's a lot of uncertainty. And it feels like everybody's forgotten why we're here, because basically the world stopped.
It's weird. I think it's been really weird, actually. And the further away from 2020 I get, the weirder it becomes, actually. You know, and you just think, I feel like the first couple of years after, everything just sort of went back to normal. Well, it wouldn't. I mean, I met and married my husband between 20 and 22. So, like, that was a big change for me. Personal branding disaster, changing your name at the peak of your kind of, like, success. But anyway, he said I didn't need to change my name, but I wouldn't be getting married to him, so it was a choice. No, I could have kept it professional. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So change my name, change my identity, right? Hugely changed my identity anyway. And sort of carried on doing the LinkedIn thing. And the two things happened really. One is my daughter started her business and she started doing LinkedIn stuff as like a done for you service when she was 17. And so for sort of 2 or 3 years of her building that business up and becoming more successful, that was kind of coming to a, you know, that like she was almost like training wheels were off. She was really getting going. She was getting her own personal brand going and really annoyingly out surpassing me on her content and engagement because what can I say? She's younger, cooler, more gorgeous than me. But she was really coming to that point where she was almost like ready to take over. And I was getting to that point post-COVID where we'd had a real financial, like most people in business, it was like the best and the worst of times. Like I had a great 2020 and then a terrible 2021. Like I made $1 million in 2020 and I made £564,000 in 2021. Like it was a fucking boof. Do you know what I mean? It was like nothing we'd ever seen because it was just so, like say, so unstable. You know, if half the people were like, this is amazing, I'm going to invest in more training and coaching and mentoring, great, because we're all at home. And then it was like, but I can't pay my bills. It was almost like the great optimism of, right, we're all going to learn. If you had a training coaching business, I'm sure you'll have seen this. Right, we're all at home, let's invest in our personal development, basically.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's making sourdough or learning to play the piano, or I'm going to learn more about my business, which was obviously great for me. We had a big boom. Then 2021 comes and we realise, actually, we're not all just going to get ungrounded any minute soon and we're going to be going through this for quite some time. And then it was like, whoa, I can't afford to pay any of those payment plans. That I've put, you know, and our spreadsheet, you used to have like, we used to watch a spreadsheet of all the payment plans and you'd have because obviously I do everything at scale. So I got hundreds and hundreds of people on payment plans, thousands probably at one point. And that we'd have a little red, you know, when the payment failed 3 times, we'd get a little red mark and someone would ring them and see if they were okay and what was going on and all the rest of it. Well, I call it like the tsunami of red. Suddenly it was just like, everyone just stopped paying their payment plans. I was like, oh, it was a horrific bloodbath of a mess financially. But I mean, I'm fine. My children are fine. That's the most important. But, you know, it was really, really challenging. So that was difficult. But then I was kind of like, okay, well, we go again, we rebuild. And, you know, we came out of lockdown and I was doing my challenges and doing my 5-day challenges, doing my launches, selling the same thing to new people, running ads and all the rest of it. And everything was kind of like going all right. And I hit what I've just talked about, which is a plateau. You know, I was just like, wasn't pushing on. I wasn't kicking on. There was no growth. It was just same sort of, you know, I'd spend 10 grand on ads. I'd do like 70, 80 grand on a launch, maybe 100 if it did really well, or 50 if it did quite badly. You know, so I was making money. But then again, we were losing payment plans. We were doing it. Like people were just different. I don't know. Like it felt like people's commitment changed in some ways. Yeah. I don't know. It just felt different energetically. But then I realised that if every problem is a leadership problem, I had to really start to look at myself. Has my energy changed? Am I a different person? Am I showing up in a different way? Even though I'm going through the motions, doing a great job, like, you know, I mean, it's show business. I can show up and do a challenge and I put my heart and soul into it. And people want to buy from me because I've got a great offer, you know. It's. I like to think it's my sparkling personality, but it's probably because my fucking program is so good, right? And I've got so many testimonials and it works and people want it. But I had a team meeting in 2024 and Gillian, who's been with me for a long time, we were planning out 2023? We planned out 2024, can't remember now. And we said, right, well, we'll do our 6 launches, we'll do the challenges, we'll do this, we'll do that, we're going to spend this amount. And as I was talking, and then Gillian said, or you could do something different. And I was like, what? She said, well, you've been doing LinkedIn for a decade. And it was like the 10-year sort of anniversary. You've been doing it for 10 years, Helen. The same thing, selling the same thing to different people in the same way. Why don't you, what about doing something else? Because I was doing a lot more coaching and mentoring and more one-to-one and more like of the stuff. And Gillian said to me, what about all this, the ideal client that you talk about? And what about the identity stuff that you talk about? And this alignment and all this kind of stuff that you talk about all the time, because Julian listens to every call. This is the stuff you're talking about. You don't even talk about LinkedIn anymore. It's almost like, yeah, the LinkedIn stuff's in the portal, but this is how we're going to do the identity work and the ideal client work and the, the visibility work and the mindset and the energetics and all that. She said, just talk about that. Like, stop trying to put it in a LinkedIn friendly box. And I was like, really? And I just felt so excited about it, because I just thought, yeah, I have been doing it for a decade. It's a long time, right? To be talking about the same things. And, do I need LinkedIn Premium? No. What should I write on my personalised connection request? Nothing. Like, how many times do I need to post a day? As many times as you want. Like, what I mean? Like, answering the same questions, So I felt really excited about that. And that was around December time. And that was it. I just said, okay, no more. And I wrote the book in 5 days in January. Bought the book out, Ideal Client Attraction, Spiritual Practice, came out as a, more of a spiritual kind of business mentor rather than just being pure hard-based strategy, and really helped people focus on their expert identity. So this is the thing before the thing. This is the thing that I realised, that if LinkedIn didn't work, this is why. Because you hadn't got this shit nailed on. You talked about clarity. If people don't really know who they are, they don't really know what they're selling and why that's important to them, and they definitely don't know who their ideal client is, then no strategy is going to work. Doesn't matter whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, email marketing, funnels, website,
It all comes out of that same thing, doesn't it? It all
comes out of that. So the book really is the foundational work. It's the thing before the thing that I would want everyone to read before they even wanted to work with me, because that's the thing that's missing from everybody I've ever seen who's stuck. And so I really wanted to have that as my legacy piece of, like, I genuinely do believe that everybody in business should read my book. That's why I give it away for free, because I want to know 1 million people have had my book for free, so that I can sleep better at night thinking I've done my bit. Because so many people I know, so as you get more successful, you hang around with more successful people, you get invited to things, you get talking to people, and you realise that everyone's got the same problem. We all teach strategy, or we do done for you, whatever, but if they haven't got this bit nailed on, if they don't know their ideal client, they don't know who they are, they don't know what they're selling, everybody's strategies, memberships, mentoring, coaching, events, none of that really worked properly because they hadn't done that work. So it's my public service for all of us who run programs and groups.
The blunt truth is, you just balls everything up. Without that foundational bit, you balls everything up.
And that's what the reason I think that pushed me timing wise was AI, because I thought, wow, years ago someone didn't have clarity and they'd just bumble about in the corner of the internet with no clarity and not make much money and then get sad and give up and go back to a job, right? Which is sad, but if I couldn't get to them fast enough, then that was what happened. Now with AI, you can magnify that mess into an even bigger mess and put yourself in a million different places at once, so the whole world can see what a mess you are, and it's terrifying. So I was kind of like, whoa, if we're gonna, and I'm a massive AI fan, supporter, got AI startups, like who hasn't, but if we're gonna adopt AI, we're gonna have to, because AI is adopting us whether we like it or not. We've got to get this foundational stuff right. We've got to get the stuff that we're putting in. If every voice note you put into Claude has to come from you knowing these things beforehand, otherwise it's just a mess. So the AI really helped, really spurred me on to kind of get this stuff right, because without it, it's just it's magnifying mess, and I need everyone to get the foundations right.
And I mean, the beauty of AI is it gives you access to way more stuff that before you just couldn't get to. I like to think about AI as like, if you were really bad at something, it might bring you up a little higher. But if you're already good at something, it'll probably make you dumber. Like for an example, if somebody's very, very good at a certain type of coaching, no amount of AI will help you get better at that. But if you're bad at copywriting, like horrendous, it might make you a little bit better. Yeah. But that whole piece of, well, actually, what am I saying to who? You can't really, again, you can't really use AI to do that if you haven't decided what it's about, why it matters, who it is.
It can definitely help, but you've got to do the inner work first, and that's what I think people don't maybe understand about my work is that really ideal client work is not about the ideal client at all. The way I see ideal client work is it's all about you. Like, it's all about you and what you want. And when I talk about what you want, what I mean is what inside you wants. Mm-hmm. And AI can't tell you what inside you wants. It can't tell you how you feel. It can give you what I call Goldilocks in. So it can give you ideas like, you earn this amount of money or this amount, like which one feels better, you know, and you can go hot and cold until you kind of, you know, you can be kind of coached into the inner work. But ultimately, I haven't got this is what's so weird about the work that I do now is I don't actually have the answers. Mm-hmm. And for like a, you know, an overachiever, annoying teacher's pet who always had the answers and that's why I got bullied, but now I make a business out of it, it's really weird. Mm-hmm. Because I have to just keep saying to people, what do you think? Because they're coming to me going, should I do this or this? Should I be this person or that person? Should this be my ideal? And I'm like, you need to ask you that, because I can tell you, and this is definitely what I was guilty of. I'm like, oh yeah, you could do this, this and this. This could be your ideal client. This could be your offer. This is how much you should charge. This is how this what platform you should use, right? Now I'm like, no wonder people weren't doing what I told them to do, because I wasn't asking them. I was just telling them what to do. Yeah. Because, but what I was telling them to do would probably work great for me, because what I realised from really digging into what I did is I spent a whole year looking at why people didn't succeed, like why my clients didn't succeed, even if I told them what to do, because I found that really frustrating. I was like, I've told you what to do, but you're not doing it. Why not? And what I found was in three things. So everyone has a certain makeup when it comes to like entrepreneurial gusto. Use the word gusto, like energy, personality, and bandwidth. So everyone's got a different type of energy depending on who they are and what they are and how they're feeling, and it could be different today than tomorrow, to be honest, particularly in women. But you know, different level of energy to, you know, draw upon. Everybody has a different personality, yeah, and everyone has a different bandwidth, and the bandwidth could be practical, logical things like I've got 3 kids in 3 schools, so I've got to do 2 hours of school runs a day. But it also can be energetic or emotional or responsibilities. So again, I was like, fucking bandwidth. Like, I'm a single mom, I do all this stuff, I've made millions, blah 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 blah, until one of my kids got sick. And when she was really poorly, I was like, oh, this is what it means to not have the bandwidth, right? You know, it's like, oh, I see. You know, energetically I can still do the things, but my heart and soul is with my daughter. You know, I can show up and do it, but I'm not really there. It's like a cardboard cut out of me, right? And I think until then I didn't really get the concept. And again, you've got elderly parents, or you've got illness yourself, or you've got, I mean, getting a dog. I mean, Christ, my husband thought that would be a great idea to buy me an overbred designer dog, give it me on Christmas Eve. I was like, are you trying to get me cancelled, Stu? Like, I can't even post about this, because people will be like, dogs are for life, not for Christmas. Sausage dogs are massively overbred and have back problems and all this kind of stuff. But I was just like, but it's affecting my bandwidth massively, having a puppy and a dog. And it sounds a bit silly, but it's true. You know, it's like having a toddler. So there's bandwidth, energy, personality, and bandwidth. And if you don't work with those things, you're just telling people to do things that they're never going to do. They'll do it for a bit, but they won't be able to do it consistently.
It's a bit like, I mean, I don't know whether, well, where were we? Was it 5 years? Yeah, 5 years ago. So that was like middle of the pandemic somewhere. And around 2022, 2023, I had that same kind of feeling of like, I don't want to work this way. Even though we got quite a lot of corporate work, I was like, I don't want to work this way. And so we went through a kind of, maybe 23, I think it was, kind of a brutal phase. We had like 50 full-time staff, and I went, I'm dying here. Yeah, I am dying under this.
Yeah.
So we actually came down.
Oh, 50.
Yeah, we came down to 29, and that was awful, because obviously, you know, crying CEO story. It wasn't nice. But I'm the bastard for doing it, obviously. Yeah. But it was like, I am working for my business. This is the wrong way round. Yeah. Like, with 50 people, I should be sat on somewhere else.
Yeah,
And I wasn't. And I just went, I'm in the wrong place. But to what you said, I'd done the pragmatic thing. This makes sense. This is a good, sensible thing. And then I reached a point where going, I don't want to do this.
Well, that's because it's in you. And the thing is about change. So the high level identity work I do, i.e. with people who are very successful, who've got big businesses, and because it's almost quite low stakes at the sort of low end, 2 to 3K sort of newbie type end of the market, because it's quite low stakes really. Because if you're stuck at a couple of grand a month, you can change it, you know.
Yeah.
But when you are like you at this level with all of this authority and all of this people relying on you and all the people around you, and I don't just mean in the business, in your family, I don't know what your setup is, but you know what I mean, like in your family, your partner or whatever, even like your parents, your kids, like you get to this position when you have success that everybody else wants you to stay in that identity. Like everyone's got an agenda, not necessarily a negative one, but still everyone's looking at you in this position. I call it like the gilded cage, right? Because on the outside, it all looks great. I was like, wow, you've got what you wanted. You've achieved your goal. You are doing what everyone else wants to do. And I run a thing called Off the Record, which is like for 7-figure business owners. And we call it just first world. I always say, like, give me your first world business problem. And, you know what I mean? Give me a state of the nation right now, because this is a safe space. You can come and complain about your success, because sometimes it's really hard. So you get to this position, don't you, where you're kind of like, everybody would look at you and think you were mad.
Yeah.
So but what I'm saying is that requires a lot of inner strength and a lot of bravery. And quite often when you get to that level of success, you're really fucking tired. Do you know what I mean? You're like, I don't know if I've got the resilience and the reserves to do this, because I'm so tired, because it's took me, I talk about eras. So you have your gold rush era, your second mountain, and then your legacy era. But it takes a lot of energy, all of those eras. Yeah, the gold rush is great because it feels good and you're still not as tired. But, you know, second mountain stuff, it's hard to say, I've done all the things I wanted to do and I've ticked all the boxes I said I wanted to tick, and I'm still not happy. But it's because you've achieved everything that you're not happy. And so that's the entrepreneurial way. We have to burn it to the ground and start again to keep us sane. Like we don't function well in
it's almost like when you start out in a job, isn't it? Like when you start in a job, your first job, it's money.
Yeah.
And then you start to get pickier and pickier about how you earn your money.
Yeah.
And I think it's that same journey as a kind of business owner. You know, you start out and it's like crazy, let's do what it is. Then you get, how do we make the crazy a bit more efficient? And then it's like, I don't want to do that crazy anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You become much better at knowing yourself. And I think in business, and I had a bit of a weird epiphany, because I was like, shit, I'm not 23. Do you know, like, oh my God, I'm like 46. Like, I'm an actual grown adult. I've been in business a long time. I've got a lot of experience. I've got a lot to offer. And it's almost like, oh, I forgot that I was this good and this experienced and had this much authority. But at the same time, you know what you get to is what you are not here for. Because you've done all the messy and all the bits and bobs, and you've tried things, and you do become jaded and cynical. So when someone comes to you with an opportunity,
what's
you
this
know?
fucking thing?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You got to sign this NDA. I really don't, because I'm 100% going to tell you when you reveal it, I'm going to be very underwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's the opportunities come across your desk and you're cynical and you're just like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go on a side quest for something because I'm older, wiser, and I know what I'm trying to achieve to a point. I don't know. Do you know what you're trying to achieve? Are you having an existential crisis, Dean, like me? Are you like, what is the point?
So a little bit, right? So my little bit is two things. I remember my grandparents, right, in their 60s, and they were quite frail. And I'm like, I'm 44. I'm like 16 years away from. Do I suddenly just like? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So there is that bit, but there is a little bit of cynical nature in me creeping in, of going, Like, why is the world so obsessed with simple answers to like easy answers and easy wins? And it's like, we know, like, it really does bug me. And I don't know whether you just turn 40 and just become a grumpy old fart, basically, or whether it's just you grow up and realize, yeah, we're playing a long game here.
Do not have the answer to that. I do not have the answer. You become very, I don't know, like, you're going into an era where you give less of a fuck, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You become, well, I certainly have become very, like, almost like insular. Like, I've got a big mission and I want to help loads of people and I know I'm a good person, all that kind of stuff. But also, like, I've got to focus on the most important things to me. Does that make sense? It's almost like I've done the big, the masterminds and flying around the world and all that kind of stuff. And I've done all that and speaking on stages and going to London all the goddamn time and all that. And now I'm just a bit like, I'm a simple person, I like to be with the kids who are like older now, like the 19, 20, I'll hang out with my dog who drives me mad, but I do love him. I like going to the pub. I like playing paddle. And I like to earn loads of money. So it's almost like, and if it doesn't fit into one of those buckets, then I don't really get the FOMO anymore. I think that's the thing. I think as you get older, you kind of like, yeah, you can run around and go to every event and you can, and all that kind of stuff. And I love that for you, but you're just in a different era than me. And I think that's the thing, is understanding where you're at is perfectly the perfect time space for you. And someone else would never understand that because they're so different and ambitious and all that kind of stuff. But I did think, have I lost my ambition? That was a big kind of question for quite a while. And I don't think I've lost my ambition. I think it's just changed. Partly because, and I would have hated to hear this, that I made millions of pounds and nothing really changed. I didn't really feel any different. I enjoyed the grind and I enjoyed the climb and I enjoyed the achievement and I I still do enjoy doing a lifetime Stripe report and it says like 3.24 million or something. I love that for me. I think, well done you. You did what you said you were going to do. But I do feel like I've lost a little bit of the at all costs that I had in spades pre-COVID. I was like, let's just go, build, scale, more. Now I'm like, I made $1 million in 2020. I still only took home 200 grand. So I'm a bit like, I'm sure there are easier ways for me to earn 200 grand a year than that,
Yeah.
But I've not quite figured it out still.
I saw
I just make 200 grand a year, but I don't take 200 grand a year home now. So I need to work on that. But
I saw a post from Matt Hall. I think he'd just done a launch on Facebook.
Yes, he did.
I've never met him, but he seems a nice bloke. I see him on Facebook quite a bit.
Guy. Yeah, I got a lot of time. I've only known him for a year myself, but yeah, he's all right.
And I saw a post of his where he was sat in his car. He'd just done a 200 grand launch.
He did, yeah, he did.
And he was saying, it's 200 grand. And then he actually broke down where all that went. Yeah. And I thought, you know what, that's the honesty of like, because everybody hears the big number and doesn't realize so much ads, affiliates, all that kind of stuff. It's a hell of a lot of work. Yeah. And I've never done launches. I've just been services. So so what you did with your launches and stuff would terrify the shit out of me because you're basically building everything for this one moment. And I'm like, whatever. I mean,
it's terrifying, but that's what makes me feel alive. So that's the thing.
I don't know.
That's the personality, though.
What if you balls it up?
I do balls it up. I've had more failures than I've had wins. I just don't really talk about them as much because it's not as good telly. Like I've had launches where, I've spent $1 grand on ads and I've made 10 grand. It's nothing to really write home about, but I'm still making money. But then again, I go into rooms and I'm like, oh my God, I did my launch last week and I only made 20 grand and people are looking at me like, that's amazing. But I'm used to doing 200 grand launches. So I'm just like, that's terrible. But the maths is data, right? I knew I was only going to make 10 grand before I even did the launch because the launches always extrapolate the same. So it's just data. It's just numbers on a spreadsheet, really. But it's just, I love the so part of my like human design is like about building in public. Like it's about needing to be witnessed. So for me, just quietly making money, it doesn't do it for me. Like, I need people to watch me do it and be like, wow, you're amazing, or wow, you've gone through a real hard time, and wow, you've really overcome it. Like, I'm on, I need to be the main character, but I also need to have people watch me. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's just my makeup.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just different, isn't it? But now I'm feeling a little bit like, I think I'm ready for more of a quiet, let's just make some quiet money, And it's really interesting because when I meet people and talk to people, I'm like, yeah, I could just do some consultancy for you for like 20 grand and just no one would need to know, and it'd all be fine. So it's and I'm doing loads more deals. That's what I'm doing more of at the back end. More like, you need my skills. I know I've got the skills. I don't particularly need the money per se right now. So instead, let's do a deal. Like, I met a guy at dinner and I was like, look, I know that you need me, and I know he's a surgeon, he's got a clinic. I said, I really think I can help you. Just move the dog. But I said, just instead of paying me £5,000 a month, just pay me £1,000 a month, and let's do a deal on how much money we make as a result of what I tell you to do, kind of thing. So loads more deals going on in the background, things like that, because £5,000 a month as a consultancy, ongoing, retainer is a lovely bit of money. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I would say no to that if anyone wants to DM me about it. But £1,000 a month plus a potential £1,000 this month, £2,000 next month, up to 10 grand in a year's time is a lot more sexy to me, because then I'm motivated by the win-win rather than just I'll provide a service and
there's a little bit of a fight in there to get something and to make something happen.
A bit more like, we're in it together, It's a bit more like, it's like having a business partner, but because you're sharing the wins as well. So I've done that with lots of different people over the years. Sometimes it works really well, sometimes it doesn't work as well. But I always say to people up front, I'm willing to take the risk. I'm willing to put my time in. I want a little bit of money just to cover, the sunk cost of me not doing something else. But ultimately, I want to keep it as low cost as possible so that we can look back in a year and be like, wow. Because I did that with Phil Harrison. I don't know if you know that, but a lot of people, I talk about it all the time. But like, he took, I think at one point it was 11%, was it 15%, and 10%, 11%? It moved about a bit depending on what he was doing. But he took a percentage of my launches. So he consulted with me. He was like my right-hand guy. He was basically my therapist, let's be honest. He was always, like, we were just like best mates, like business partners, really. He didn't have any shares or anything. He was just like basically consulting for a low, retainer. And then he took a percentage of the launches in that year. So if you think, let's say 10%. So like, I made $1 million and he took, 100 grand. It was a good deal, it was a really good deal for us both. And, he bought an Aston Martin and I bought a 7-bedroom house. Like, we were having a really good time together. And I think that's more what I'm into now. It's like, how can I go and have a really good time? And work with someone for a couple of years rather than, building all my own things all the time. It's just a different energy, right?
Yeah. And I think it does evolve. And for me, that was the same in 23. I think it was like, I want something a bit different. So, yeah.
Because you can feel it in yourself, can't you? It's a bit like when you know you're going to leave a relationship, it takes you time to even say it out loud.
Yeah.
There's
a gap between something inside and it actually surfacing. Yeah,
then you say it to yourself and then you say it to somebody else. And then, you know what I mean? It's almost like there's a process to go through. And that's one of the things that I help people with. It's like they've thought it and felt it, but they've maybe not even said it out loud. So I can help them say it out loud. And then we can really look at how are you going to dismantle this and rebuild something new and exciting that's really aligned with you for this next era. But then, helping them say it and then actually do it, that process. And people come to me because they read my content and they're like, yeah, that is me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do feel like, I call it a whisper from your soul. Like, there's something in me that's saying, this isn't your life anymore. But you look around, a bit like when you're in a relationship. I mean, I'm second marriage. You look around, you think, can I really dismantle all this? Bear in mind, like, we went into this for all the right reasons. and we want, and it's the same with business partnership. It's like, when it's over. It's just one of you's got to say it. It's hard, but like with Phil, when he said, look, this has been a great 3 years or whatever, but I want to go and, focus on my own stuff. And, I've learned a lot and I think you're all right. You'd be on your own and all the rest of it. He had to have that conversation. Whereas with Paul Green, who I did the same thing with, I had the conversation with him of like, look, I think you're ready to go on your own now and do your own thing. And we've made good money together and he's off and flying now. He's doing amazing stuff. But you're probably not going to stay together forever. It's like most relationships, really. So it's just having that conversation, but it's having the conversation with yourself and the people around you at the right time. Because if you don't, then that's when resentment builds. That's when you start, it can make you ill. It can, you can start burning things to the ground when you don't need to. And
somebody told me once. Somebody told me once, and we'll wrap up here, and I want to find out how people can get a copy of your book so we can get it out there. Somebody told me once, relationships are spatial. And I was like, what? And what it means is that most of the hurt that you get in life and business is because you put somebody in a position in your life, business, wherever, and you didn't understand, you had a completely different view of where their position was than they did.
Right.
And so some people come into your world for a time. Some people come into your world and they should be an associate, and you position them as a best friend.
Yes.
And most of the hurt in life, most of the frustrations and difficulties in life are putting people in the wrong place.
Yes, that definitely has happened. And I think, again, as you get older, wiser, more experienced, you get better at that. But that has definitely happened to me in the past. I've had some disastrous business partnerships. And if you're one of them, I apologise. I was not in the right space. And, I've obviously put you in the wrong place. But yes, I've had people very upset because they thought it meant we were going to be really good personal friends. Or I've had other people be upset because like they've not felt like it's been balanced for whatever reason, like the expectations weren't set. So like I'm much better now when I go into it, what I just call a deal. Like I'm just going to offer you a deal, you can take it or not. I am more preoccupied with putting them off than encouraging them. I try and tell them all the bad things that could happen. And I talk a lot about how we're going to extract ourselves from this when we need to, because we will need to, and I'm very much, much more not cynical, just more honest and open than maybe I was brave enough to be before. Difficult conversations are difficult, right? But I think, if you're going to go into business with people for whatever reason, like you say, however that relationship is, I think we've all probably had more things implode and go horribly wrong than we'd like to admit. And part of that is on us always, and definitely on me a lot of the time. But I think you're really right about the putting people in the wrong space and place and it's just a mismatch of expectations or understanding, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm very kind of silo thinking. So, when I'm working on something, everything else vanishes. And Dave in the office here, he says to me, like most of us work remote, but 2 days a week we're all together.
Oh, nice.
I was like, we can work whenever. And he said, no. We're going to work one day in the office, at least one day me and you in the office, because otherwise you'll forget I exist.
Yeah, I have that object impermanence. I'm like, who?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I just go.
In the zone.
Yeah.
Well, that's a superpower in itself as well, right?
Well, a superpower and a flaw when you realise you've got 976 unread WhatsApps.
Yeah, they can wait.
Yeah. Helen, how did they get hold of your book?
So the book is available, I think it's available on the website, helentudor.online. If not, it should be. But I'll give you the link. It's just, I think it's helentudor.online/free book, maybe, guessing. But I'll get you the link.
We'll put it on the description on the podcast as well.
Please, that would be amazing. Yeah. And I would love everyone to read it. It's a conversation between me and you, and I want you to read it as that. It is as good as being in person with me and for me to talk you through it. It really is. It's designed like... really the sessions that I do for like £1,000, so it's a way for you to get your shit together before you do anything else, before you spend any more money. But the good thing is when you do this work, everything that you've invested in works.
Yeah.
It's the thread that pulls it all together. So let's say you've got a hard drive full of courses and programs that you've never executed on, well, that's why, because you've not got this stuff sorted out. So when you get this sorted out, you're going to be so excited to take it to the world. You'll be dusting off all of those Google Docs and all of those school communities that you're in, and it'll all suddenly make sense. It'll be like, oh, now I see how I can use this tool, this tactic, this guru advice, this, this platform, this strategy. Everything will suddenly get into focus where it was all a bit blurry before. So nothing's wasted. No time, no money has been wasted. It'll all start to work, yeah. And if anybody's listening to this who has got a course, a program, runs a community, teaches people, mentors people, or even does done for you, if you ever want me to give you the book for the free, just pass the link around anyway. It's not gate kept at all. There's no payment on it, so you can just pass it around. Or if you ever want me to come in and speak to your people, I'll come in, because ultimately that will help all of your stuff work better if this work is done first. The identity piece, it's once it's nailed on, everything will work better, which is good. Saves us all a lot of problems.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Helen, hopefully it won't be another 5 years.
No, I know, and hopefully this will be your second biggest podcast appearance.
Reinvigorated my views by bringing you on.
I know, love that for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to put the link to the book, Helen's book, on the description, so grab it there. And you can find Helen on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. TikTok. She's everywhere. I keep going to say Helen Pritchard, though. It's going to take a while to get Helen Tudor.
Well, you can. I'll answer to either, but yes, I'm under Helen Tudor on all my accounts pretty much now. but yeah, if you're googling me, then you can Google Helen Pritchard and Helen Tudor. You'll find me.
Awesome, Helen. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Bye.